everyone, and welcome to Montreal Collab. Here we have our guest, Amy NICOLE HOLISTIcs, also known as Amy, a very good friend of mine. In this episode, we're going to be talking about informative approaches towards understanding a little bit more about nutrition, lifestyle, and fitness. Today's topic is about IBS, but before I go into that, I would like to introduce to you Amy. She is also a yoga instructor, certified yoga instructor, as well as a holistic nutritionist. Amy, tell me more about yourself.
Thanks, Lima. So I fell into the holistic wellness field by accident, I guess you could say. My own health had taken a nosedive. I ended up in the hospital based on actually some symptoms regarding some bacterial health, which we're going to dive into a little deeper into this episode. And in an unrelated situation, I ended up in a car accident. So ultimately, these unfortunate events led me into a holistic wellness lifestyle. And so I could not be more happy with the way things had turned out. Luckily now, my passion is to be able to share information, share the modalities that have worked for me in order to get my health back on track with people who are curious and who are interested and who want to take control over their health and their lifestyle. So I'm super lucky that I had a chance to meet Lima. She's become such a great friend and an inspiration in my life. And here we are, yeah.
You're an inspiration to me as well, Amy. You wouldn't know. I love her yoga classes, by the way. They're amazing. She's so grounded. Her voice just soothes my heart. Oh, all right. Well, back to the topic of the day. Today we're going to talk about irritable bowel syndrome. And what is irritable bowel syndrome? It is a functional gastrointestinal disorder. So usually it is characterized by stomach flare-ups or sensitivity around the gut. Usually what you feel is an inflammation, and it can manifest itself in different types of bowel movements that change without really a real variable that triggers them. So me struggling with IBS, I can have many a bad day, but I never know what really triggered that problem that I have.
And IBS is sort of an umbrella term because there's lots of doctors out there who might not be able to identify or diagnose you, and that's because there is this umbrella term that is so vague and always changing, and it could be one day it's a certain type of food or a certain type of choice that you've made that affects your IBS.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's tricky.
Before we dive into this topic, I would like to put a disclaimer out there that we are not medical practitioners, and our facts here are backed up by peer-reviewed articles, as well as our own opinion and experiences. So it is very wise and important to make sure that if you take these messages home with you, just take them with that in mind, that each person's IBS symptoms and their response to food can be different, because we are different. Each and every one of us has a different digestive system with a different flora that can react differently to food. So it is important to keep that in mind. And with that, we're going to talk about the main driver of IBS flare-ups in my life and in many people that I know. And I know it's true because there's a study that shows that stress is a huge contributor to IBS and exacerbating IBS symptoms. So that's crazy, right? I mean, we lead stressful lives here in the city, and we wouldn't know that our environment or even our thought process can cause stress.
Absolutely. I mean, there are so many nerve endings. I'm talking a plethora of nerve endings in our digestive tract, and especially in the lower part of the colon. And what happens is our bodies perceive stress so differently than how our minds perceive stress.
Yes.
So if you're thinking to yourself, wait, I'm not stressed out, I have a pretty easy life, and there's nothing to be worried about, your body might be perceiving some of your thought patterns as stressful. Your body might be perceiving some of the foods that you ingest every day as stressful. And your body might even be perceiving your environment or your daily interactions as stressful, even though you don't specifically think it's stressful.
Yeah, and while foods definitely might trigger IBS symptoms, and one of the 3 top foods on the list of many of the articles that I read were dairy, alcohols, as well as caffeine, and a bunch of other things that you probably wouldn't think about, but for the most part people can struggle with anything on that list, down to wheat and gluten, but that really depends on you. So definitely harsh stressors, we know that sugar is really bad for you, and IBS, individual with IBS definitely react to sugar very, very badly. I know that I do. So that is a big stressful thing when it comes to your gut responding to foods, but not only to foods, to your environment, to high pollution, to high stressful environments, when you don't get enough sleep. All of that is definitely plays a role. So stress is definitely something to watch out for if there's anything to be careful and mindful for. So
that feels like a really nice segue, especially talking about sugar, into the next topic, which is fiber. So fiber actually can help to slow how quickly glucose is released into the body. And so if you are consuming a pretty high sugar diet, I mean, I would always encourage increasing your fiber intake and also increasing your water intake so that you can slow down just how quickly that sugar is released into the body and how it affects your stress mechanisms.
Yeah, hydration and proper soluble fiber consumption is key to maintaining gut health. People who struggle with IBS, it is recommended, and based on the study 2014 review by Moadi et al., talks about the importance of soluble fiber such as psyllium fiber as well as flaxmeal in regular diet in order to make sure that bowels move correctly and efficiently. Yes, and not only does fiber help with the release, with the aiding of digestion and the release of food, sugars in a more, how should I say, consistent
Yes, and
manner. Slow and consistent, but also feeding the biota in your gut, such as your gut flora, right? And helping them, pretty much giving prebiotic qualities to the gut flora. So I think that's really important. And another thing that I found that was really interesting was that partially hydrolyzed guar gum is also a type of soluble fiber that is helpful in relieving IBS symptoms. Though the study by Russo et al. Was a little small in sample size and not robust enough to make all the claims, but I am right now trying it, so I will definitely give you guys some feedback on how that goes. What other things can we complement our diet with?
Yeah, so as far as soluble fibers go, I mean, any kind of fruits and vegetables are going to be an excellent choice. Certain types of grains and legumes and lentils are also great. And of course, if you are struggling with IBS and you've noticed that beans and legumes and certain grains are harsh on your digestive system.
I know that.
Yeah.
I struggle with that too.
They're tricky, and I mean, that's a whole other episode right there.
Yeah,
on how to be able to ingest a certain type of grain or legume.
Yes.
By either breaking it down through germination or sprouting or fermenting. Even these are some other excellent ways to be able to ingest.
Or like pretty much cooking it thoroughly as well. I feel that if I were to cook my beans more thoroughly, they're a little less intense on my digestion compared to completely eating them close to al dente or raw, I should say, right?
Yeah.
So definitely, but foods generally contain both soluble and insoluble fibers. If you wanted to go for a purely soluble form of fiber, you would have to supplement yourself with powders such as psyllium, flax, as well as guar gum.
You can also find some fiber supplements that use pectin and different types of fibers from beets and apples and things like that. And those are another excellent choice. You can mix them with water, put them in your smoothies. You can even bake with them using, making muffins or whatever it is that you want to.
Yeah, well, it's great because insoluble fiber is important. And it is found in foods, which is what we talked about.
We very often think that fiber is going to immediately help to alleviate any kind of constipation or diarrhea, but the case really is that if you increase your fiber without increasing your water, you can create more damage than you can help. So especially if you're constipated, just increasing your fiber is actually going to dry you out and probably make you more bloated and more backed up. So you absolutely must first increase your water and then increase your fiber. And same thing if you're experiencing diarrhea, what you want to do is also increase your water and electrolytes. So maybe adding a little pinch of Himalayan salt, or if you have another electrolyte sort of supplement, and then also increasing your fiber, that will help to bulk the stool and move everything through.
That is a very good point, Amy. I agree that hydration is very important, but another thing that I feel is very important advice to give to IBS individuals struggling with IBS is that when you are actually having your supplementation, start small. so that you can work your way up to the proper dosage. Because even though the dosages are given for normal range of population, it might not necessarily be the right dose for you. You might have to work yourself up to a full dose or a full scoop of a specific fiber that you're interested in having. And then again, water is definitely part of the equation, and a lot of it as well.
Absolutely.
For sure, completely.
Absolutely.
So we know that fiber is a great complement to the digestion, because it provides as a prebiotic to the probiotics that we need, the good gut bacteria that we have. Amy, tell me more about probiotics.
Sure, yeah. So probiotics, they're one of my biggest passions.
Yeah. She knows a lot about them, so she's my go-to person.
They're so important. You know, we are made up of more bacterial cells than we are made up of human cells, and we in our intestines, our large intestines alone, have thousands of different strains of bacteria. And for the sake of simplicity, we'll call them good and bad bacteria. And so when we have an overgrowth of bad bacteria, this is when we start to notice dis-ease in the body. So that might manifest as mental health issues, that might manifest as strep throat, that could manifest as skin disorders, that could manifest in so many different types of ways. And what we're always striving for is a healthy balance. We want to have more good bacteria than bad bacteria. And so how we do this is by reducing our intake of sugar, because of course bad bacteria thrive on sugar and processed foods as well. And then we're also going to increase the amount of probiotics that we're getting in our diet. So probiotics come from so many different sources. They come from either a synthetic source, or you can get them from from the foods that you're eating.
That's cool, because I find that I consume most of my probiotics through synthetic means.
Yeah.
Tell me more about how can I complement my synthetic consumption with actual natural foods, because I prefer to consume my foods and my vitamins and minerals and my probiotics naturally, and so do many other people, and you should. But by complementing what you already do, for example, supplementation, how can I have my probiotics in food?
Absolutely, yeah, that's a great question. From our foods, we can get probiotics from so many different sources. So, for instance, sourdough bread is an excellent example. You can do any kinds of kimchi and sauerkrauts, kombucha, water kefir. These are miso as well. Tempeh actually is also a fermented version of soy. So these are some versions of foods that you can get your probiotics from. And another way that you can complement taking supplements is by including prebiotics. And prebiotics act as a type of food for your bacteria to feed on.
And like we said, prebiotics are mainly fiber.
Absolutely. So inulin fiber, the guar gum fiber, any kind of psyllium husk, and all our fruits and veggies are also going to act as a prebiotic for the probiotics.
All right, great. That's really nice. It comes together nicely. Your fibers, your prebiotics, your probiotics coming from both sources of fermented products as well as your supplementation. But it is very important to look into these supplementations through your naturopath or medical practitioner to find out exactly what type of strains and how much of them you will need to consume. It also takes trial and error for some people to figure out what the perfect blend of strains they need, or you can ask a medical professional who knows and understands these little bit more details. So I'd like to tell the people here that generally whenever I have a bad day with my gut and it's just not really settling, I complement it with some peppermint oil, and I find that really soothes the lining of my intestinal walls, and whatever inflammation is sort of at bay after I've consumed my peppermint oil pill. And I really like the fact that it's a natural product as well, so it helps alleviate the pains. So there we go. That was a nice kind of finishing touch on that with peppermint oil, a natural remedy to IBS.
So to sum that up, what did we just talk about?
Okay, so number one thing, stress. It is very important to be very in tune with your body and how to control stress in your life and therefore control IBS flare-ups.
This second one was fiber. So increasing your fiber intake, making sure you're getting sufficient soluble fiber in your diet is going to help immensely with any kind of symptoms that you're experiencing.
Along with water and electrolytes, depending on what's going on with you, but water is definitely on the top of the list. Keeping hydrated is extremely important. Prebiotics served through fiber as well as your foods, and probiotics through supplementation and fermented foods as well. And that is
peppermint oil as an alleviation. So if you ever are experiencing some sort of IBS flare-up, a little bit of peppermint oil. You can either take it, you know, an oil in a glass of water, or you can take a little capsule that's filled with the oil. I like my capsules. They're less intense. Yeah. Even though I like my breath to smell like minty fresh, but that's a little too intense. So I just usually take those little pills, and that works for me like a charm. It's awesome. Well, this concludes our first section, but if you guys really like this topic and I want us to delve more into, for example, protein powders for IBS, and diets that are specific to IBS, we can go into it a little bit more and discuss them further in our next episode here on Montreal Collab. And with that, the importance of exercise, of course, in alleviating IBS symptoms. So if you guys like this content, please subscribe and like this video. And thank you so much, Amy, for being here. Amy's information and her access to her media links is all down below in the post. Give us your comments and your feedback, and we do look forward to hearing back from you, and let us know what you think. So thanks again, Amy. Thank you, Lima. Right. Thank you, guys.
Take care. Bye.